This is the Balance Through Art show here on the Living Stage here in Salt Lake City, Utah. Big thanks to the Hotel RL for having this awesome venue. And tonight's a really cool night. So we've been doing this show since last September, weekly, and it was all because of this guy right here. Jeremy Eubanks, everybody.
Hey!
Oh, yeah. He played a show here a while back, and it's like, hey, you should play here. So I did, and then I told them about my show, and they're like, come do this every week. So I wouldn't be here if it weren't for this guy. So we've been doing a lot of, like, I rub your back, you rub mine kind of thing, trying to keep the little coals going, the little fire of the music industry. I'm really tired, guys, so it might be a fun night.
Gang.
But yeah, let's just hop into a song, and then we'll get to know you a little bit, and we'll have a fun little evening.
All right. Fun stuff. All right, this is a new one. Fresh off the charts, fresh new stuff, get swifty. Though I'm good at pretending, I don't wanna be fake. I don't wanna write your stupid songs to be part of your game. I don't wanna write a love song, I just wanna write the truth. I don't wanna play these chords unless I'm playing them for you. Honey, I'm a believer, I'm believing in you, and I'm trying to meet you, so I'm not writing this to you. Honey, I'm a believer, I'm believing in you, and I'm trying to meet you, I'm not writing this to you. The music is tempting, my ambition is not. How can I be a feeling man when the fire's not hot? I don't wanna write a love song, I just wanna write the truth. I don't wanna play these chords, unless I'm playing them for you. Honey, I'm a believer, I'm believing in you, and I'm trying to meet you, I'm not writing this to you. Honey, I'm a believer, I'm believing in you, and I'm trying to meet you, I'm not writing this to you. Honey, I'm a believer, I'm believing in you, and I'm trying to meet you, I'm not writing this to you. Honey, I'm a believer, I'm believing in you, and I'm trying to meet you, I'm not writing this to you. Gang. Spicy fire. Do it. But you're our king.
You think you're better than us,
You're our
Dawson?
king, Austin Seacrest.
Feel humble now?
Oh, yeah. So humble. So, that's a freaking sweet song. What was the inspiration behind it?
The inspiration behind that song, man. Basically, everyone's like, you always write depressing songs and stuff. And I was like, yeah, I know. And they're like,
you should write a love song, and then that's the response. I don't want to write a love song. And it kind of has a deeper meaning too, where it's like, what's up, Patrick? What's up? So yeah, it kind of has a. So it kind of it has a deeper meaning as well, where I have the line, I don't want to play I don't want to play these chords unless I'm playing them for you, you know, where like I want, if I were to write an actual love song, I'd want it to be real, personal, person to person, and it's just not something I've gone 100% into yet, little flings and stuff, but and I just don't feel. Does that make sense?
Makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
I think it's weird how some people can just write these like fictitious love songs of relationships they're not even in.
Yeah.
It's like, I think that is incredible how some people have that much of imagination where they can conjure up like these emotions for someone they don't even know or have never met. It's like, that's pretty rad, but I'm a kind of guy where it's like it has to like happen to me, Thank you.
Thanks.
Enjoy Salt Lake.
Yeah.
So, just a kind of a quick explanation of what we do here on the show. So, what Balance Through Art is, it's a brand and a community that educates people about the life cycle and how to find a positive balance in life through art and healthy living. So what we're all about on this show is encouraging people to pursue their art more. And some people might say, well, I don't do art. Like, I do math or science or whatever. It's like, to me, art, my definition of art is it's that thing you can do in your free time completely by yourself that you just could get completely lost in. And you're like, it's a creation. Oh.
I like it.
Ah.
Yeah, creation. Yeah.
Almost.
Almost creation. Hey.
Almost.
Hey.
But it's that thing you do where you forget to eat, you forget to sleep, you forget to go to the bathroom. And then the real test, though, is if you can do that same thing in front of people or for people, and it brings them into that same moment, I think that's why a lot of people love art and music and things like that, because it takes you to a different place. You got something to say, Patrick? We don't have a microphone over to you, so how's anyone to hear what you're saying?
But that's the thing, I don't need a microphone. I'm the usual part of your show. I'm that background guy.
There's people watching. Even if you're yelling, it's not going to capture it on the mic.
Yeah, it's supposed to be that way. I'm that background guy. Cool.
He's a positive heckler.
Background guy. It's supposed to be that way. Not supposed to be.
We need to get you a mic. We'll get you a mic one of these days. You have your own mic. You can just interject. So Jerem, like, kind of what's your history? Like, did you start on piano? Why piano? Why sing? How'd that all come to be?
All right, long story. Try and make it short. Started on a little toy guitar, making songs that didn't make any sense. About, Bear, he turns on the TV, yeah, Bear. Okay, and then the confidence of the little toddler went away, and I was too scared to actually play music, especially sing, And eventually, I got back into the piano and started doing, learning Coldplay songs and learning, The Fray. I know The Fray was one of the first songs I learned, How to Save a Life. Yeah. And then I got back into singing was through Rock Band, the video game, Green Day Rock Band, and it was like my dream to sing like Green Day, and I tried to imitate Green Day, and then over years, I imitated more people. I started imitating Panic at the Disco. I started imitating Muse, and then eventually I just started getting my own sound and learning how to sing with my own voice, and I'm here today. Gang, gang.
And who is this sexy gentleman we have sitting here?
My name is Jake Stewart. I'm a friend of both you and Jerem, and I play percussion. I have a acoustic full kit, and I have this cajon whenever it's played in quieter sessions. Just keep going.
Gang, gang.
Sure. Quick backstory. I met Jerem working down at City Creek, and we don't work together anymore, but we worked at Chick-fil-A. I went to one of his shows at the Acoustic Space, and I didn't even like his music, I'm being honest. It was a little much, but I don't know. After a while, you actually get to familiarize with yourself and be okay with the fact that what he does and what he provides is different than anything else. You can try to put a label on him. At first, when I tried to put a label on his EP, it was Pink Floyd. But it was very jazzy. It was very not downbeat, but I don't know what word I'm trying to use. But it was very different, and after a while, I got to appreciate it. It's an acquired taste that I was glad I was patient enough to learn, and from not liking him at the Acoustic Space to wanting to actually play for him was something that I'm glad that I had the experience for. To piggyback what you were saying about eventually being able to figure out how you can express your creativity freely and actually pursue it, despite the fact that, of course, you don't always should go into it for financial gain or career success or that, but just for the sake of creativity and creation itself. It's your fault for that. It's your fault that I'm here because you were the ones that eventually encouraged me to actually start playing percussion. It wasn't eventually for you, but it was with Jerem and for some of the other projects that I got going on. And definitely the pursuit of it is worth it in and of itself. I find that spaces where I couldn't use the talents that I've been given to play, I was able to actually share it with other people. And I find that I'll do anything, even if it's gigs or opportunities that don't feel like they're going to prosper, like even if it makes a memorable moment for one person, I'll go out and seek it. That's fun in and of itself. I'll haul plenty of my equipment over to Jerem's parents' house just to jam, and we'll have the garage door open. If we piss off 6 or 7 neighbors just to get the one that actually like us and look us up, then, hey, it's worth it. And it helps that it's a lot of fun, and Jerem's a lot of fun all the steps of the way, too.
Absolutely. I love these guys. We've done a few shows together, and it's many more to come. It's going to be a fun summer, I think. So, got a lot of park show opportunities. I'd love to hear, I don't know which song you guys learned together first of Jerem's, but if you remember, it'd be cool to. Yeah.
Was it Madman? The ones that we wrote together? The first one that we learned together. That we wrote together or that we learned together?
Either way. Like, so you get together.
First one we learned together was probably Madman.
Okay.
And then.
But if you had like a planned set, don't let me derail you. I'm just thinking like.
Yeah.
All right.
We don't. The first song we wrote together, yeah, the first song we wrote together was, I guess, well, I'll count it as it was a cover, but I'll count it because it's like a little different. It's the Patrick Watson. Wouldn't you say? Was it Love Songs or was it Great Escape? Patrick Watson song. Yeah. Maybe. I can figure it out. Let's try Madman actually. Yeah.
Madman it is, ladies and gentlemen.
This is a Madman.
One man walks 1,000 miles.
Madman.
Spicy times.
I've never heard the story behind Madman.
The story behind Madman.
Who is this Madman? Is
I'm a
he angry?
madman.
It's me.
Oh. Whoa. All right.
So it's basically the feeling of feeling nothing. And how
No
that
Tin Man.
that feeling, yeah, the Tin Man.
Yes.
How like that feeling I feel is the feeling that a lot of bad stuff happens. You know? The feeling of nothing. So not happy, not sad, just
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's a really bad state to be in.
Yeah.
Because loved ones can die and you're just like, eh. Or like the best thing ever happens, you're like, eh. There's nothing worse than apathy, you know?
yeah.
It's like, give me sadness or give me happiness, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
I feel that.
Sadness, like at least you're feeling something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. We as complicated emotional human beings, the feeling of nothing, it's like, what am I, a stone? You know? That's kind of crappy because we're obviously, I think, meant to be a little bit more than that. But it's those apathetic times that I think help us appreciate the ups and the downs.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's kind of that crappy gray area in the middle that can lead to all sorts of interesting things. So what we're going to do now is kind of dive into this little process we kind of go through in life up here on the screen. I'll give a kind of a brief explanation of it, and then we'll kind of dive into it deeper and share some more songs, some more stories. But yeah, so what we have here is a little visual art piece I made up when I was going through a really hard time in life. When I was 17, I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder, and that was really rough because, you know, you're a junior in high school and want to be normal like everyone else, but no, now you're the kid that has to take pills, and I know all about that apathy, you know? Like, when I got on those meds, it was a couple years of just being a zombie. And I got tired of that, so I'm like, I'm going to go off my meds. Maybe I'm not bipolar anyway. And after about a year of being off of them, I started feeling like all the old symptoms kind of coming back, but I was like in denial. I'm like, no, it's something else. But I knew, like, and so I was kind of in this crazy whirlwind, like a ship out at sea in a storm without a rudder. And I was like, I need some sort of compass. I need something to, like, know where I'm at in life. And so in kind of a little creative outburst, I drew this. And so what this illustrates is the cycle we go through in life. So there's 4 areas. Starting at the top, you got balance, then you have pride, humility, and strength. And I broke down each of those into deeper meanings with the musical notes. But I like to start this cycle talking about pride. So pride is made up of 2 things: boastfulness, which leads to conceitedness. So there's kind of 2 ways we go through life. We can go through life consciously or unconsciously. We know, we see the unconscious people a lot on Facebook, right? They're the constant complainers. You know, just when they get over some sort of trial, it's like this like seemingly new one pops up, and they're like, why do bad things keep happening to me? But I think if you look at it deeper, yeah, the trial, maybe it's different on the surface. I feel like a lot of times people just aren't personally learning from their mistakes. And so a very similar yet differently disguised trial will kind of pop up to derail you and ultimately to get you to humble yourself and realize, I got to work on me a little bit. We can also go through life consciously. And that's ultimately kind of the goal with this. If it is a cycle that's going to happen, or whether we like it or not, hopefully we're going through it consciously. So the boastful, like, before I talk too much, so when you guys hear the word pride, like when it comes to your art and your life, what does that mean to you?
I feel like there's like good pride, which is like you know I'm proud of my music. You know, I feel like I've come a long way, and I like what I've been doing. And then there's a bad pride, which is like I'm better than everyone else. You know.
For sure. A little analogy I like to use is so there's a fire there, right, for pride. So oftentimes we're like a little coal in a bed of coals inside of a fire, and we start to glow really hot. And sometimes if you're at a campfire, like a coal will kind of pop out of the fire, and it will land, you know, maybe in some dry grass, and maybe create a little fire, and it's like really bright because it's out in the darkness. And sometimes we're kind of like that, right? We're like, oh, I don't need this bed of coals. Like, look how bright I shine in the darkness by myself. Take a coal out of the fire for too long. Well, I mean, one of two things can happen. It's either just going to fizzle out pretty quickly, or it's going to start a wildfire. And even with the wildfire, you know, maybe say you become a big hit overnight, right?
Mm.
But ultimately, that's going to burn up a bunch of stuff, right? And, like, leave this crap in its wake and everything. How about you, Jake? Like, what does that word or that topic mean to you?
Something that struck me when Jerem was talking was that pride, as far as music or as far as creativity or your art, it's a balance between strength and weaknesses, not necessarily being different things, but the fact that your weaknesses and your strengths are the same. It just depends on how you apply them. In the metaphor that you were talking about, if you want to light your way through a forest, you use fire, and fire is the emblem of pride in your demonstration, but that doesn't mean it's always necessarily a destructive thing. Like you said, you sometimes need the coals to light your way, but sometimes if you don't control it, or if you focus on the wrong things, or you don't use it properly, then it can cause destruction. And it's the same thing in your creative process, and if you're trying to turn it into a career, if you're trying to work with other people, there's a difference between generating content so that you can get your music out there, which is the whole point of why we go out to perform, or there's an obsession of pride where all you're doing, instead of doing it for the creation, you're doing it for the followers, so you can get the most followers on Instagram and Twitter and different stuff like that. And then you start to question after a while, hey, why am I even doing this in the first place? You know what I mean? That's it for me. It's just like realizing why you're doing it in the first place, and if you can focus on that, then you use your pride to the best intention so that your weaknesses can become strengths, essentially, if that makes sense.
For sure. For sure. Snap-a-doodle-doo. Great thoughts, guys. I like that last thing you said about it's kind of like a balance of strengths and weaknesses. And we'll kind of get to that later when we get to accountability. But I think a big thing to keep pride in check, at least for me, is gratitude, right? You know, some of us are inherently born with, you know, what's the word, a better inclination towards some things than others. Like, you know, look at Michael Jordan, look at Steve Jobs, etc. But they also worked hard. They had mentors. They studied material that they didn't produce themselves to get, you know, essentially there's like that saying of we're climbing on the shoulders of giants often to get where we're at. You know, like you didn't create the Casio. That microphone you're singing into, some brilliant engineers over time figured that out. And then even on more of a like an atomic level, you know, like the air we breathe, our bodies, like we didn't create them. I believe all-loving, powerful Creator did. And if that's true, then it's like, how are we using our gifts? How are we using our bodies to glorify Him or whatever it is out there that like is the reason why we are here? But yeah, we'd love to hear another song and just keep this thing rolling.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Yeah, I'm hearing it too. Yeah. All right. Okay. All right. We're gonna try and do a cover. This song is a popular one.
Record companies, don't sue us, please. Thanks.
Yep. Pulling up lyrics here, you know. It's pretty hot. Hola? Better? Kinda? Alright. Okay, sort of.
Well, I'm so above you, and it's plain to see. But I came to love you anyway. Tore my heart out, and I don't mind bleeding. Any old time it keeps me waiting, waiting, waiting. Oh, I got a love that keeps me waiting. Oh, I got a love that keeps me waiting. I'm a lonely boy. I'm a lonely boy. I got a love that keeps me waiting. Well, your mama kept you and your daddy left, and I should have done you just the same. But I came to love you, and I'm born to bleed. Any old time it keeps me waiting, waiting, waiting. I got a love that keeps me waiting. I got a love that keeps me waiting. I'm a lonely boy. I'm a lonely boy. I got a love that keeps me waiting.
Cover time, cover time. It's a good song. I like
Love
that song.
that song.
Yeah, that's a good one.
You guys are from my state, Ohio.
Hey. You're best friends with him, dude.
Man, me and my brother used to play that all the time. Any old time, keeps me waiting.
Yeah, it's a good song.
So, I noticed no one's quite jumped up for your autograph yet, but homeboy here was on American Idol recently. Made it on the big screen TV.
It's true.
Or
It's
maybe
true.
the different size TVs in people's houses. Apologize, guys. I'm pretty tired today.
Yeah, dude. Katy Perry.
Katy Perry.
That's right. Tweeted
So I
me.
would. So, sadly, you were not catapulted into the finals or anything.
Yeah.
But so the next part of our cycle, we're going to be talking about humility a little bit. I don't know if you experienced that at all, but I know if I were to go through something like that and be like, I made it this far, and like, what was that experience like for you? If you're comfortable talking about it.
Honestly, it was one of the greatest experiences of my life, because I would never even expected to get that far, and then so like when I got, Katie gave me a yes, but when I got the 2 no's, I was just kind of like, I was tired, I was hungry, I was like, that was fun, I made it pretty far, all right, let's go eat, So, and it at the same time though, it did like kind of give me the opportunity to look back and see what I can improve on and see what I could have done differently. And in fact, I actually started my online audition for next season already. So I can take what I've learned and I can put that to next season. Yeah.
It's freaking cool, man. So, what possessed you to be like, I'm going to try out for this in the first place?
Well, I love the show and I've always wanted to. And then on Facebook, they were like, auditions. And I was like, let's do it. So I did it, And then the whole shebang happened.
That's so cool, man. Maybe one day I'll get up there.
Do it.
But one day is not a day of the week. That's what someone told me once.
Whoa.
Whoa, man.
Whoa.
Neither is tomorrow. There's no such thing.
Daggum.
So yeah, we talked a little bit about pride, how that boastfulness can kind of go out of hand and we become conceited, so full of ourselves that we're unwilling to take in any new advice or fuel to keep us going. So that invariably leads to some sort of defeat, and along with the defeat, there's this ego death, We see it all the time watching our favorite sports teams, LeBron's out there. Oh, I'm LeBron, making all my points. Oh, broken ankle, out for the rest of the season. It happens, we're human, but oftentimes when we get into that state of humility, it kind of becomes this black hole, where it starts to feed on itself, and it's just kind of this downward spiral. And so the little symbol I use there is the little Jesus fish kind of diving down. So I know not everybody's religious or believes in God or whatever, but, the fact that our timeline is based around, before Christ and after death, there probably was a guy named Jesus. Actually 95% confident based on facts and stuff. But, some people think the Earth's flat, and I've never been to outer space, so there's all sorts of things I take on faith. But anyway, what that symbolizes is it's often it takes us becoming defeated and hitting rock bottom that the help we need can kind of pull us out of those depths, because we realize at that point that oh wow, like I don't know everything, and oh wow, I wasn't as good as I thought I was, and yada yada yada. But I know a lot of your songs kind of have more of a melancholy kind of overtone. Um, in terms of humility or kind of like that, those darker moods. Um, what puts you in that state, or what do you think about that kind of keeps you there at times, or have you like had experiences that kind of make you reflect more on the darker things in life, or because Jerem's a pretty positive guy, like I'm always high-fiving at work and everything, but I know a lot of artists, including myself, kind of use their art as a way to kind of vent out those darker emotions so they can just go about their happy, healthy life elsewhere. But I don't know, what's that experience like for you?
Yeah, kind of hit the head on the nail there. That like, I use my art kind of as therapy, where, and there's a song I actually made, PJ's Flip Flop Shoes, which is all about that, where it's my goofiness and my positivity, and it's kind of a cover up for the deeper woes of my life. It's, I kind of have a philosophy, and whether it's a good philosophy or not, it's my philosophy, where it's like, if you're having a bad day, it doesn't mean someone else needs to have a bad day too. So that's kind of where my positivity comes from. And whether that's good or not, because sometimes it's kind of fake, So whether it's good or not, I don't know, but that's kind of where I'm coming from. And the music, I guess, can be that real, the real part, the not fake part, the part where even if you don't understand the lyrics, I can connect to you hopefully through the sound, through the music. It's like a language.
For sure, man.
Yeah.
Good old Jane Joy down at the Joy Foundation, where I think that's where we first probably met.
Mm-hmm.
We have this hotel is animal friendly, so we have our little friend Lily with us today. So if you hear random whinings, that's what that is. But yeah, Jane has this little poster that says, "Music expresses that which can't be said, and that which can't go unsaid." So, I love that. Like, whether you're catching the lyrics or not, hopefully the mood of the sound is gonna kind of draw you in. So that's cool, man. How about you, Jake? Like, how do you deal with, those deep states of humility, or even more on like the side of depression?
Oh man, depression can be its own Jack in the Box, or the fake flyers in the can of peanut brittle. You know what I mean? Oh man. On a side tangent, before I directly answer it, I don't know. I was feeling like inspired just to let you know maybe we should play PJs and flip-flop shoes. At least it fits this part of the humility thing.
All right.
It's up to you though. But because I was prompted only because you brought it up. You brought it up, so it's your fault. No, just kidding. But even think about PJs and flip-flop shoes. Like, of course, meaning in a song doesn't always solely belong to the creator. Everyone else has their own interpretation or projection from their own meanings, and that's why it's meaningful. And I think it's valid only because, at least in this moment, maybe that's the whole point of my argument here. That my viewpoint may differ from Jerem's. But even the fact that you would name a song PJs and flip-flop shoes, it shows that in depressed states or in dates of humility, and the dates of the melancholy, whenever you're trying to find happiness, when you may not have a lot of material to pull from, when you're performing all the time, regardless if you're a musician or not, you sometimes tend to perform whether or not you're happy or you're sad, and you need to find ways to do it, and I find it in the small things, honestly. Because it really doesn't take much to pull you down and then flip it back over, weaknesses into strengths, like I said before. It's little things that can just pick you up too. Yeah, that's it, I guess.
PJs and flip-flop shoes, ladies and gentlemen.
Gang. Yeah, it's good. It's good. Good job.
Morning breeze in the afternoon, and I've been humming a different tune. I'm too excited when the devil stings it too. Oh, blue skies, high tide dews, PJs, flip-flop shoes. Friday face in the Monday gloom, singing a verse not known to you. I'm too excited when the devil sings it too. Oh, blue skies, high tide dews, DJs, flip-flop shoes. Cover me up, 'cause I don't wanna let you in. Living in blood and I'm addicted to my demons, and I'm not looking for a cure, and I'm not looking for a cure. Still we're humming the same old tune, singing verses not known to you. And I'm too excited when the devil sings it. Oh, the devil sings it too. DJs, flip-flop shoes. Bringing me up 'cause I don't wanna let you in. Living the blood and I'm addicted to my demons, and I'm not looking for a cure. I bleed.
I feel like it was pretty buzzy on the top part.
Man. I would love to get some like little orchestra bits in some of your songs.
I would love some more instruments.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Dude, that'd be spicy.
Whole string.
On a side note, I'm thinking of doing like a re-recording of my EP and just adding more stuff, adding more cellos, and just adding a bunch of just for fun, all the stuff that I'm hearing now that could sound cool,
That's kind of. I put out my first little home recorded album a couple years ago.
Yeah.
And now City, I just gave him all the tracks and he's going over like doing his drums on it. Whoa. Then I'll like have my brother add some guitar. It's kind of the same thing. It's like, I don't know, it's like the original ones like will always be like this is the one, but like I think it's cool that the day and age we live in, you can just kind of keep adding over time, and like finally you get like that final product that you're looking for, sort of thing.
Yeah.
But that's cool, man. It's cool.
For sure.
Sweet. So we got all nice and depressed, which is fun, So let's get out of that. So the way out is when you have drowned or you're drowning and you're at the bottom of the lake and you're knee deep in the mucky bottom, really the only way out is help, outside of yourself. And so we get pulled out of that, whether it's through God or your belief system or friends, family, therapists, whatever. And we move from that state of humility to more of a state of strength. But the beginning of strength is weakness. It's realizing what are my weak links, Oftentimes people like, I'm going to go to the gym and work out and get real strong. But they might have like, really weak hamstrings and they go to like squat 200 pounds and pop, So you gotta know where your baseline is. You gotta know, okay, what do I need to work on to have strength? And the journey is kind of like hiking a mountain, right? From a distance, you can look at these mountains here to the east, be like, there's the top. But when you actually drive up to it and you get on the trail, you can't see the top. You'll see what looks like the top as you're climbing. You're like, oh, I think that's it. We're so close. Then you get there only to realize you're not even a quarter of the way up the freaking thing, Or if you're in the gym and you're like, oh, I can rep this, huge bench press. And you're like, man, I got a long way to go. But the key to strength, and I like to use a little lyric that I wrote. It's from my song called Fragile. And the line is, there's strength in knowing the truth about yourself. I know I'm weak, and therein lies the truth. But since I know I'm weak, therein lies my strength. I'm a fragile man made strong through God's hands. So, oftentimes when we get prideful, we think we're all that. But like, you could slip on a banana peel right here, smack your head on that corner, and you're done. We're not as tough as we think we are physically. Even emotionally, like some of us are like, oh, I've been through so much, I can handle anything. And then freaking like your dog dies and your truck breaks down and your grandma gets ran over by a reindeer and you're like, I can't handle it. But the truth is, in a digital picture, it's made up of little pixels. And in the grand scheme of things, we're like one little pixel in the cosmos, like it's pretty ridiculous. And life gets so overwhelming, and we think it's so, matters so much that what we're doing matters and is heard. But when you die, are you going to be remembered 10 years from now, 50 years from now, 100 years from now, maybe not, And for me, like, one of the ways that I get perspective in life, that's why the mountain there, is hiking mountains, When you finally get to the top and you're able to look back at where you came from, you find the parking lot, your car is this little dot. You look a little bit further, your house is even smaller. And it's just like, as much of a big deal as I would like my art to be or my life or whatever, it might not really affect anybody. Or it might affect the whole world, And I think the way that we can have a bigger impact on people with our art is keeping some sort of greater power involved. For me, it's God, When I'm about to perform or share my art with people, I'm like, God, like, get me out of the way so you can, like, because your power, you gave me this gift. Like, your power is way bigger than me. Like, I'm this little pixel, but, like, I want to glow, And I think that's important. And if it's not God, like, then it has to be some purpose bigger than yourself, Because we dry up, we fall, we break. But, like, when you have that greater power kind of pushing you or, helping you with that last rep or, come on, the top's just 50 meters away, you can do it. Or, you've been working on this song for 5 hours. Like, what's that last line that's going to seal the deal and make it a song? We often will find ourselves kind of praying, to something that, we'll be able to complete whatever it is we're working on and yada, yada, yada. But for you guys, what's a source of strength when it comes to your art or your everyday life that, get you through those late nights of writing songs or, having to get up at 5 to go to work the next day? What's that strength for you?
One thing that helps me is, two things. One thing is my view of whether it's true or not. For me, doesn't matter because how I view it this way helps me in life. Is the whole one consciousness. I'm you, you are me. We're all the same person. So that helps me because if we're all connected, the same person, in different bodies, that would mean if I'm giving you hate or if I'm doing harm to you, I'm doing harm to myself. So if I am more positive and show more love towards people, that in turn grows more love for me, and then that brings out more love for others, and then it just builds up, and then because of that, you can it brings a lot of empowerment to do other things. And then another thing is my belief in purpose. People have, it's like the whole balance through art. You need to follow your art, whether that's math or whether that's music. And just following that path, it brings, I don't know, it makes everything seem right. Does that make sense?
There's a lot of different comments that you said that I wish I could address them all in my own way or to piggyback in my own way. Just because of life experience, there's so much you can say and you can do and you can experience. But at least in the sense of the mountain, you climb a fourth of the way up the mountain and you're like, oh, there's so much to go left. It's like, well, there was a certain sense of elation before you found out there was more mountain. And that's no less valid by how much progress you still have to make or you feel like you still have to accomplish. Or even if you compare yourself to others, like how others have gone even farther up the mountain. Like, no, you still got farther up the mountain than you ever would have thought that you would have gone up. And not only just compared to when you were at the base of the mountain, but if you even decided that hiking was your forte. This being a very huge stretch for this metaphor that you were trying to make, but even still, like, that's where my mind goes, you know? Hiking that mountain, at least you'd gone farther than you would have if you didn't think that this creativity mountain or this self-expression mountain was something that was worth trying in the first place. My strength comes from the fact that I just love self-expression and creativity. The basic concept that I'll try to wrap up if I don't get on too much of a rambling tangent is that, you know, everything seems to be a balance because it's really not that much of a difference. Strengths and weaknesses are actually the same thing. It just depends on how you apply them, if you apply them in at the right time, you know. And it's like, I feel like in this metaphor, for when you're trying to find strength, for me, it's trying to define whether or not you're being selfish or selfless, and sometimes they can be the same thing. It just depends on how you apply it. My strength comes from the fact that as I'm trying to turn outward and trying to self-express to other people to try to put my music and my creativity out there, honestly, it's self-serving, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay with being able to say that, you know, I think my viewpoints and the things that I have to express are interesting and are worth hearing, and I just want to share that with as many people as possible. Everybody has that from when they were a kid, whenever they make their first macaroni art, you know what I mean? Like, everybody's got to see this. Being men of God, you know, we go out and we serve missions, or we go out and share our testimonies with people. It's just like, it's too good not to keep to ourselves, and that's kind of the same thing with music. And in that selfish way, I realized that, I don't know, I'm going to steal a lot from Bo Burnham, but he said something pretty profound in one of his stand-ups, where he even talked about how us as a generation have been conditioned to perform all the time, constantly, for no reason. That's what social media is. That's what Facebook, Twitter, Instagram is. We're always putting on a show. We're always broadcasting ourselves for the entertainment and enlightenment of other people. And we do it constantly, even though the content that we may put out isn't always as invigorating or even always as clearly filtered or marketed or trying to hit a certain demographic. You know, sometimes we may be different heights of popularity on that mountain. But for me, it's just the fact that I'm willing to put myself out there at all. I'm even on that mountain at all. It gives me strength because even if I don't find anybody, like you said, even if I don't affect anybody, that's not really true. That's where the selfishness comes in, because really the first and most important person that you should affect with your creativity is yourself. You know, I want to change as many people as I can, but I first got to realize that the reason why I know that's a good thing is because the stuff that I do and the things that I love and my music and my creativity has first changed me.
Be the change you want to see in the world, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, Gandhi.
Yeah.
There's a lot of piggyback going on today. A thought I had, so, you know, maybe not all of us ever make it to the top of the mountain or whatever. Good. You know, if all the flowers, if all the trees, if all the little waterfalls were just at the top of this mountain in some freaking, like, plateau oasis, and the whole climb there was just this stark, featureless granite, that would kind of suck, you know? You know, there's music, there's art that I enjoy that, like, technically speaking, they're not that talented.
Yeah.
But it's almost because of that, and, like, whether they know it or not, it's just like, I still dig that, you know? Then you got people like Donny Osmond, who's, like, killing the game, or at least was. I haven't followed him or really ever. But, you know, there's people where, you know, are maybe up here and other downs here, but, like, it's just all along the way, there's those different flowers and features and plants and artists and people that are going to make the whole journey to the top, if you even ever make it, God willing, that make the whole thing, you know, one of my favorite sayings is, the journey is the destination, you know. Each moment should be, I made it, I'm here, like, this is sick, you know. And, yeah, so that's a little bit about strength, and we'll hit the last topic after we hear another song, so whatever you guys got, let's hear it.
All right. You want to try it? Okay. This song's called Passengers.
Started a walk, started a talk alone. Had so much fun. Talked to our lips, went cold. Felt like we run. We never ran at all. We never ran. We never ran at all. Only passengers. We were never the same at all. Always pulling strings with the pressure. Always screaming hard, but it don't come in. Started a look we never saw. We never saw. We never saw ourselves. Only passengers. We were never the same at all. Always pulling strings when the pressure. Always screaming hard, but it don't come in. Someday we'll learn to walk again. Someday we'll learn to live again. Gang, 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 gang. Fun times.
Someday, love will find you. Break those chains of.
Journey, actually. Yeah. So, Jerem, what is love to you? What does it mean to love? Because you can love someone. You can be in love. You can just love something. What
Love
does
is
it
the
mean to you?
driving force of the universe. Daggum, it's a common saying. Of there's only two emotions: love or fear. And I truly believe that. And you should always go towards love. So love being kindness, love being positivity, love being selflessness, and then fear being anger, fear being pain, fear being selfishness. Yeah, I should always go towards the love side of the equation. Ta-ta. And that in turn, going back to the whole, we're all the same person. It just brings everyone up. you know? Daggum.
Daggum. What is love? Exactly. I mean, you're nailing on the head. You know, there's that scripture. I don't know exactly where it is, but you know, love is kind. Love is selfless. It envieth not. Basically, then you start getting to like the scout motto thing. Love is trustworthy, loyal, helpful,
Yeah, for sure.
courteous, kind. Um, I've had a pretty awesome few months, kind of regarding love and God and the universe and all that. I forget who sings that song where it's like, move, be, get out the way. You know that? Like,
Yeah.
was that like Run DMC or something,
know,
or
something.
some heavy like gangster rap? I don't know.
Some gangs.
But that song kind of applied to me in regard to like almost. I know God wouldn't say those words to us. I mean, maybe more poetically, but I feel like constantly love is trying to tell us to like get out of the way of me and like just let me flow through you. You know? It's our selfishness, it's our pride where it's like we have this maybe like an inferiority complex or a lack of prosperity complex sort of thing where any love that does trickle into our lives, we tend to like hoard it and keep it to ourselves. Which is weird because like for a creek's banks to grow, like the rocks have to get out of the way, the gunk has to clear out, like otherwise the water is just gonna like seep down in the ground somewhere. But like if we're gonna be like little channels for love, we got to get out of the way and just let it flow through. And then it's like, you know, it's that weird experience of, you know, the just loves that thing where it's like the more you give it, the more you get, you know, and it's kind of crazy. So that kind of brings us to the last part of this little cycle here. And it's balance, kind of the whole thing we're trying to have in life. So the little pie piece that's black and white has a sharp and a flat symbol, symbolizing in life there's sharps and flats, there's strengths, there's weaknesses, there's day, there's night, there's good, there's bad. And knowing the difference between the two is knowledge. That's all it is. And so as we go through this cycle, we kind of learn things, hopefully. You know, we gain some knowledge. But then the big piece it kind of hangs on is accountability. So the symbol for that section is a star, and what that is it's the North Star. And what that symbolizes is somewhere above our heads, you know, maybe that's our goals or dreams or whatever, there's this star that's never going to move, even when we do, when we get off course. It's that as long as we know where it is, we can have those points of realization. Man, I'm turning really far away from love and more towards fear. I need to turn back to love. You know, maybe the star is love, you know. Maybe it's God or true principles or universal laws. So it's things that are constants in our lives that aren't going to change. Maybe for like our physical health, it's like, you know, 7 to 9 hours of sleep. It's pretty consistent. It's pretty good. Try to get it. You know, Mom said eat your fruits and veggies. Like, the thing is, probably the most frustrating part of life is we know what we need to do to be happy, healthy, wealthy, all that. But often we're like prisoners to ourselves, right? You know, we tend to forget fairly quickly where that North Star is and, you know, how to apply those truths to our lives. But like we talked about earlier, there's two ways of going through this cycle. There's kind of the selfish, unconscious way, maybe the fearful route, right? Maybe a lot of people get into their art or whatever and become, this prideful part is they have no self-worth, so they're trying to prove themselves through their art, right? And then it's just this vicious cycle where, you work really, really hard and you get somewhere and then you get defeated and like any bump in the road is just this huge hit to your ego. But what if you do it like, there's a saying that I love in terms of like, living your dreams and living out your goals. It's from this guy named Neville Goddard, a very interesting fellow, but he says, assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. It's like an ultimate state of gratitude. Something he teaches people is, say someone wants a new house, but they're just dirt poor and they've always lived in the ghetto. He's like, imagine just waking up and you're already in your house. Like, not what it takes to get there, but like the feeling of, I have the house and I'm grateful for it, If we go through the cycle that way, when I get up on stage, I'm never nervous. I'm just excited because I'm like, I've been here before, like, I love this, I'm already playing all over the world and flying around in my jet and like, playing in homeless shelters and playing at Madsen Square Garden. Like, I'm already doing it,
Yeah.
And like, this is just me breathing right now. Like, it's nothing new, right? And so like, that's kind of the challenge I like to issue people is there's nothing more exhausting in life than trying to be something. Like, just be whatever it is you're supposed to be. And if you don't know what that is, take the time to figure it out. And then once you figure it out, be it. Like, don't try to be Muse. Don't try to be, Panic at the Disco. That was probably exhausting, trying to learn these songs, sing exactly like them, because you're not them, Then you start finding your own voice, and like, who else sings like Jeremy Eubanks? Nobody, That's why I love going to your shows, listening to your music, because it's just like, that's just Jerem doing his thing. No one else is doing that, and that's freaking cool, And that freaking Jake up there, I'm like, no one plays drums like Jake.
It's true.
It's just fat, it's saucy,
Yeah.
and like, Jake is a perfect complementer of like what he hears. I've heard him play with other people. Like, that's a gift. That's a talent. So, kind of the little tie off the loose ends. So we kind of see a little guy here, standing here, arms in the air. We need to be open to life. We need to be open to love. Often I'll be rock climbing, and I'll be going up this craggy cliff, and occasionally you'll find like a bush growing out of the rock. What is that bush doing? It is doing everything it knows how to be open to life. I'm digging my roots in as deep as I can to find water. And I'm poking my little branches out to get some sunlight, because what does nature do? It does what it is. That's why we love nature. A pine tree is not trying to be a bush. I'm just being a pine tree. A rock's not trying to be anything else, just being a rock. Then you get out in the world full of people, and you got people who don't know who they are, so they're trying to be someone they're not. It's like, take that little bit of time to get to freaking figure out who you are. And then when you figure that out, be it. And guess what? It might change over time, or you're like a Pokemon, where you start off as a little Bulbasaur, and over time you're going to evolve into a freaking, Venusaur, or Blastoise, or whatever. I don't know. Oh, that's water. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get you.
But inside of that Venusaur, there's still the Bulbasaur, right? Like, for me, I don't really see myself as a 28-year-old dude. I still see myself as a little kid that was just stoked on Aladdin and Ninja Turtles and Dragon Ball Z. And I'm like a tree. I've grown some rings. I've gotten kind of stiff. I've gotten a few wrinkles. But, like, there's still that kid inside me that, like, just wants to fly. I just want to fly. I just want to like shoot lasers out of my hands and be crazy, you know? And the cool thing about being an adult is you start realizing you have the means of making those childhood dreams a reality that you couldn't when you were a kid because you were a slave to your parents or whatever. So, so even though we'll often fall out of balance and forget to be open, you can imagine now a sea turtle where here's his head and his little flippers, a shell. Sometimes we have to close ourselves off and protect ourselves from the arrows and the hate and the haters, you know. But when we're diving down deep into our souls, who's waiting there? In the middle of this whole thing, the center of our lives, for me, it's a plus sign or a cross. We need to be seeking a positive balance. We don't just want to live a balanced life because if we're always balanced, we're not growing. We're just staying the same. But like, we have to go through this journey, but to do it in a conscious way, and we'll kind of like grow as we go sort of thing. But I don't know if you guys have any things to add in terms of like balance, or if you're just stoked to play a song or whatever. I just got all fired up. I'm awake now at the end of the show, but
I think we're good actually. Well, any requests? Any?
Almost creation. Oh man.
All right,
You're talking about it
can try
earlier.
it.
I got all excited.
we can try it. We can try it. All right, we don't do this one often, so. Okay.
Something I can't explain or take me places ineffable. Can I have something more beautiful? 'Cause lately there's nothing that I adore play with my cravings, I'm
Yeah, okay. Gang. All right.
Ladies and gentlemen, you heard it here first. Jeremy Eubanks, Jacob Stewart, throwing it down, original music, Salt Lake City, Utah. So that was the Balance to Art show here on a Monday night. What is the day? The 3rd? The 4th? I don't even know. The 4th. June. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. The 4th of July. So, yeah, have a great night. And just end with a little quote. Don't ask yourself what the world needs of you, but rather ask yourself what makes me come alive. Because what the world needs is people who are alive. Have a great night.